Today we are going to learn how to find the product of a fraction multiplied by a whole number. Dory lives 1/4 miles from school. If she walks to and from school each day, we want to find out how far does Dory walk during a school week. If we look at the chart, we have our distance walked in miles. So it looks like to school and home from school, she walks 1/4 miles each way. And since we have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, she goes to school 5 days a week. So each week, she walks to and from school 1/4 mile each way. So basically, what we need to do is we need to multiply 1/4 times 10 because she walks 5 ways to school and 5 ways back. So we have 10 1/4. When I write a whole number as a fraction, I'm just going to write it as 10 over 1. 10 over 1 just represents 10 wholes. So now when I multiply, unlike addition and subtraction, I can just multiply across even if my denominators are different. So I can multiply 1 times 10 and get 10, and then I can multiply 1 times 4 and get 4. So she walked 10/4 of the way to and back from school. We cannot leave that, so we are going to have to fix it. So we have to ask ourselves, how many times does 4 go into 10? And 4 goes into 10 2 times, and put your denominator, and then we're just going to subtract the difference. So 2 times 4 is 8, 10 minus 8 is 2. So she walks 2 2/4 or 2.5 miles each week. Let's look at the other ways that they're explaining how to do this. So there's a picture for way B. One way is to draw a picture to show the distance Dory walks. So all they did basically was draw 1/4 10 times. And if you add them all up, you're going to get 10/4. And then they just did what I did. We have 10/4. You cannot leave it like that. So you have to see how many times can 4 go into 10, which is just 2. Put your denominator. Since 2 times 4 is 8, subtract that from 10, and you will get 2/4. And we know that 2 2/4 is the same as 2.5 miles. So you can write it either way. A third way you could do it, I'm using a different stylus today, so it's not as easy, is to draw a number line. So if we have a number line, we're dividing it into fourths. So here's 0, then we have 1, 2, 3. So if you count them up and you draw 10/4, you're going to end up on 10/4. And 10 times 1/4, same thing I did. 10 times 1/4 is going to be 10/4. At the bottom, why can you use both addition and multiplication, or why can they both be used to represent the problem above? The reason is because multiplication is just repeated addition. The two equations that I could use is 1/4 times 10, like we did, or you can add 1/4 10 times. They're both going to equal 10/4. And if we fix them, they're both going to equal 2.5 or 2 2/4. Let's take a look at another example. Calculate 4 3/5 to determine how far Jess bikes to and from work in 4 days. So we are going to multiply 4 times 3/5. Over here, it says 12 times 1/5. So basically, all they did was just like we did yesterday. They multiplied the 4 times the 3, which is 12. That's how they got the 12. They kept the denominator the same and just made it a unit fraction. That's another way you can do it, but it tends to be a little bit more tricky. What I would do, if this was a problem I was working on, I would just change 4 into a whole number. So I would do 4 over 1 times 3 over 5. And then I would just multiply it and I would get 12 fifths. So over here this says 12 fifths, and I got that from changing my whole number into a fraction over 1 and then just multiplying by 3/5 and multiplying across. And then we can just fix it. So I know, I'm going to write it right over here. If I have 12 fifths, I know that 5 goes into 12 2 times, because 2 times 5 is 10. Write your denominator. This is a 2, sorry. And then just subtract the difference. 12 minus 10 is 2. So I would end up with 2 2/5. That's how I would solve the problem. All right, let's look at number 1 on the guided practice. We have draw a picture to explain why 3 times 2/5 equals 6 times 1/5. Well, you don't worry about drawing the picture, but what we're going to do instead is we're going to write 3 over 1, because that's 3 is a fraction, times 2 over 5, okay? That's going to equal 6 over 5. And then we're just going to fix it. 5 goes into 6 one time. Put your denominator. 6 minus 5 is 1. I'll write that in a different color so it's easy to see. So you have 1 and 1/5. Okay, numbers 2 and 3, we're going to write a problem to solve. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw number 2 right here so it's easier to see for you. I have on here 2 pies, it looks like. I'm just highlighting them for you. Each pie has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces and 2/6 of the, it looks like there's 2/6 of the pie left. So I have 2/6 times 2, because there's 2 of them. So I'm going to change the 2 to 2 over 1, and I'm going to end up with 4/6 of the pie left. And since 4/6 is a proper fraction, I do not need to change it. All right, now let's do number 3. I'm going to do number 3 down here. So if I look at the number line, it goes to 2 and 2/3. So it looks to me like it's jumping 2/3 each time. So that's 1 2/3, 2, 3, and 4. And we're going to end up on 2 and 2/3. So it already gives us our answer. So since it's jumping 2/3 each time, 2/3 times, there's 4 jumps. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. 2/3 times 4. I'm going to make 4 is 4 over 1. I'm going to end up with 8 over 3. Once I multiply, because 2 times 4 is 8, 3 times 1 is 3, and then I just have to fix it. 3 goes into 8 one time. Oh, sorry. 3 goes into, I made a mistake on that one. 3 goes into 8 2 times. Put your denominator. Since 2 times 3 is 6, 8 minus 6 is 2, and I will end up with 2/3. You can try numbers 4 through 7 on your own. I am also going to make a video of them just so you can check your work, because this seems a little bit more confusing than normal. So you can pause the video now and try numbers 4 through 7. If you're having trouble, you can just do it along with me. All right, let's look at number 4. We have, if I look at it, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there's, the number is 1/8, and it's listed 5 times. So number 4, we're going to do 5 times 1/8. All I'm going to do is make 5 a whole number. So I'm going to put 5 over 1 times 1 over 8. It's going to equal 5/8. And since it is a proper fraction, we can just go ahead and leave it. So our answer for number 4 is just 5/8. All right, number 5. I have 3 different sets of pies, it looks like, and each pie has 2/10 left. So my equation is going to be 2/10 times 3. Make 3 into a fraction, so 3 over 1. Multiply across, and you'll get 6/10. So you can just leave that, or you can reduce it. Since both numbers are even, you can divide both by 2, and you can get 3/5. All right, moving on to number 6. It says, calculate the distance Marko rides her bike if she rides 7/8 each day for 8 days. Remember that since we're multiplying a fraction by a whole number, it's going to be less than 8. So we have 7/8 times 8 days. Make this into a fraction, so 8 over 1. We're just going to multiply across. We will get 56 over 8. Then we just have to decide how many times does 8 go into 56? Well, it goes into it 7 times. So her answer will be 7 miles because it wants to know how far. And number 7. It says, calculate the distance Tom rides his bike if he rides 5-6 miles each day for 5 days. So we have 5/6 times 5 over 1, 25 over 6. 6 goes into 25 4 times. Put your denominator. 6 times 4 is 24. 25 minus 24 is 1. So 4 1/6 miles. That says miles if you can't read it. Okay. I would like you to please go on your Envision. I assigned a video called Another Look. Watch that, and then go ahead and do the practice buddy for this lesson, 10-2. Also do the practice buddy from yesterday if you did not do it.